We're catching up on a few indie games here in the IndieCade corner of E3, the Ouya corner to be specific. A game that caught my eye, we just walked by it and I had to stop and look. Thralled. Can you tell us what this game is all about?
So Thralled is an interactive experience about a runaway slave in colonial Brazil and her relationship with her baby boy.
So a very different sort of approach to the game, but also the art style is very different. Can you tell us a little bit what inspired the art style and what you're trying to sort of show us with it?
Yeah, so for the art style, I'm personally in love with the 2D look, a really painterly look, kind of, yeah, just really resembling like traditional painting in a sense. And for the first chapter, for this forest, we really wanted to kind of use this palette of grays, dark greens, to really create that kind of foreboding, dark atmosphere that she transverses through. Because when the player plays through it, we really want them to feel immersed, that they're actually in the forest in Pernambuco, and to her to feel slightly vulnerable with her baby boy. She's running away from the slave masters, from the sugarcane plantation. So yeah, everything's done in Photoshop, and just that painterly abstract look. It'll get even crazier as you play through the other levels of the game. The surroundings, the atmosphere, and just the level design will be even more abstract. So that's what we're going for.
And it's a pretty grim sort of subject matter to sort of look into, and I guess having this look of it makes it a little bit easier to digest maybe the harsh nature of the actual game.
Absolutely, and it's not only the look that we're trying to establish a sort of commonality between the audience and the character who represents a populace of victimized people, right? We're trying to make the audience care by offering a link, which is the relationship between mother and the child, right? Which all people in some form or another have gone through. It's a sort of relationship people have experience with. What people don't have experience with is slavery, right? And this is how we show, okay, this person is really like you, right? We have things in common, right? And we really want to attach the audience to this character and make them sensitized to other people's suffering, because there's so many people, even nowadays in the 21st century, are going through these kinds of situations, and we really want to have people think about it and feel it, and care about it. And maybe these people in the future can do some good. Maybe people in positions of power can make a difference if we shape them to think that way. And
raise awareness, and yeah, really through what the topic we're tackling. Because I mean, the player, like you said, the player can't exactly understand, or if they can never experience slavery, but at least through this relationship between a mother and child, they can kind of get that more intimate experience and kind of understand, empathize more with the character.
I mean, so I mean, slavery is really a topic that we should be talking about, not only because it was such an enormous calamity in the past and because of all the victims that it caused, but also the way that it affects us today. I always say racism as it's perceived today, racism against people of African descent. It is what it is because of the practices that the institution of slavery back in the colonial ages necessitated, right? Again, even the institution of slavery itself is alive and well with well over 25 million people in that situation nowadays. So we feel like we must discuss it, and interactive media is a very valuable way to do so,
I mean, it's easy to sort of, my part of the world, thralls were, something that we did in the Middle Ages. You had that sort of whole feudal system, and we sort of feel like we've left it behind. But it's very close to us. Trafficking, all that kind of stuff. It's going on very much on our doorsteps in Europe, all over it, and we're part of it.
Absolutely, and that's precisely why we must talk about it, because it's not a thing of the past. It still happens, racism, is like it stemmed from this practice, so it affects us very much from a lot of perspectives today,
I overheard you talking about the fact you're from Portugal, and that's your sort of personal relationship to Brazil and what's going on in the game. Can you elaborate a little on that?
Yeah, Yeah, so the fact is that Portugal was the pioneer of the transatlantic slave trade movement, and the nation under which the majority of Africans were enslaved, right? Um, and the thing is, people don't really talk about it, and I find it preposterous that we don't approach that side of our history. It's not a responsible way to talk about our past, right? Like, we must admit the mistakes of our ancestors and admit the role that they had in the trafficking. Um, and if we don't do it, we're just bound to repeat it. So we must discuss it. We must think about it.
Serious issues aside, we also have a game it's got to be fun to play. It's got to be engaging and interactive. It's sort of like a puzzle adventure. It's 2D puzzle adventure setup. What can we expect from the gameplay side of things?
So the way the dynamic, how it works, is so you have to go with the baby through the forest, right? And there's gonna be these obstacles, these tall ledges, for instance, that you must climb through to proceed. The problem is you can't do so with your baby because you need both hands to do so, basically. So you need to put down the baby at a safe spot and figure out a way around the situation to get the baby up there. The problem is when the baby gets put down, he starts crying, which alerts this ghost that's stalking you through the forest and makes him walk towards the baby, right? So basically you have to figure out the situation before the ghost catches the baby, come back for the baby, grab him again and hold him close to make him stop crying, and then you can proceed, basically. But to your comment, I wouldn't necessarily say that Thralled is fun, but it is engaging, I would say, because fun is a little bit of a complicated word because we're talking about slavery. You wouldn't say, compared to film, you wouldn't say that Schindler's List is fun, right? So that's kind of what we're going for. Exactly, but it is engaging. It does touch you. It does reach a deeper side of the human condition, and that's really what we're striving for.
Satisfying is perhaps a better word. When you're satisfied that you complete a puzzle, that you progress in a game, that you come to a resolution, perhaps.
Rescue the baby.
Enriching, perhaps.
Where are you at with the game? What's left to do, and what kind of platform? I know it's coming out on Ouya, obviously, but what are you looking to?
So I think we're about, I would say, 40% done, and we're going to release it to the Ouya in fall 2014. We're going to be exclusive for 6 months, and then after that we're hoping to release it on other platforms such as PlayStation or iOS. So not really sure about that yet, but hopefully in the future we hope to expand our venues.
And what's the E3 experience been like for you too?
It's been great. It's actually our first time. It's overwhelming. I've been following E3 since I was a kid. Back in Portugal, and being here is like another world. It's crazy. We've been loving it. Absolutely. What do you think?
Yeah, for me, I think I haven't really had a chance to walk around that much because I've had to stay at the booth, but just checking out the indie games, a lot of them are so cool and so unique, and I was inspired by a lot of the games. Like like concepts that I've never thought of, that I'm like, oh, it's so cool. So it's really enriching. For me, I just graduated. It inspires me to be able to, think about what I could do in the future in terms of, games and art and animation. So I came from an animation major. So just really combining all my passions, and I don't know, we'll see one day. And, after Thrall, who knows what can come next. So yeah, future's untold. So yeah, it's
I hope you find some time to walk around a little bit. Thank you so much for your time.
No, thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you.